money in this situation is worse than losing your job.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
The castration of the Major League Baseball managers, we know it.
Ask me about my winner.
John Pielli here, Pass Ball Show. Like and subscribe if you want, but most importantly, comment, because I want to know your opinion. Today I'm going to talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I mentioned it several times on my show about my issues with baseball and its selectivity. And I believe, and I'm going to make this case right now, why Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, and Roger Clemens not being in a Baseball Hall of Fame is an indictment to all sports Hall of Fames. It's basically malpractice to a point where it makes sports Hall of Fames not really Hall of Fames. Now, we could sit here and talk about steroids as they were involved in the world of Major League Baseball, and negligence, certainly by the players, but also by the commissioner, by the fans, by so many other players that have used and have just not been called out. Jose Canseco, who was the reason that there was an investigation about baseball and steroids, and the reason it went to Congress, writing a book, has made the statement that there's at least 5 Baseball Hall of Famers that used performance-enhancing drugs and steroids over the course of their career. And I look at the world of sports, and whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's hockey, college football, college basketball, tennis, golf, soccer, every other Hall of Fame honors its best players by honoring the best numbers. And Barry Bonds has the most home runs in a single season, the most home runs in the history of Major League Baseball. Pete Rose has the most hits in Major League Baseball. Roger Clemens has the amount of strikeouts he has, well over 300 wins, 7 Cy Youngs. And for some reason, baseball feels like it's doing some sort of service to its fans by not including these 3 players in its Hall of Fame. And if the issue, like I said, is steroids, you got my take. My take is sports are entertainment. It's not a problem with the WWE. You know, Lance Armstrong, while he was using steroids, was an American hero. All of a sudden you find out that he is, and you're going to go the exact opposite. I look at Lance Armstrong, and I don't think Lance Armstrong's that bad of a dude. He's going to use everything that he can in his mind to do the best that he possibly can. And by the way, go back to the history of competition. And I'm talking about the 1500s. I'm talking about 1000. I'm talking about BC, when there's gladiators beating the hell out of each other in the Colosseum. Since the advent of competition, somebody is out there trying to figure out what they can do to give themselves an advantage over their opponent. Football players have used performance-enhancing drugs. Possibly hockey players and basketball players, maybe none of them have been exposed. They probably use steroids. And you know what? If you found out that somebody used steroids now that's in a Hall of Fame, you're not going to go out of the way to take them out. So once again, what are we doing to make this a better sport, a better pastime, better for your kids, right? And I have an issue with GNC, by the way, because you're looking at the athletes of today, and they're stronger, they're faster, they're bigger than they've ever been before. And a lot of it has to do with supplements. But we want to make a divide, a line. Where's that line that's drawn between somebody that's using something that's illegal and somebody that's using something that's legal? Because somebody that's using a legal substance right now has an advantage over the player that played 100 years ago, has an advantage over the player that played 50 years ago, probably has an advantage over the player that played 20 years ago, because that chemical is able to enhance his or her performance more than other players that played before them that didn't have that opportunity, and more than players that are currently playing that don't have the benefit of using that substance. And once again, we're talking about a line somewhere from some powder that you could get at GNC, maybe starting with creatine, on your way up to the most strong, the strongest anabolic steroid that is completely illegal. There's a line where something you could use is okay, and then there's something you could use that you're basically considered the Antichrist because you used. And of course, whether it's baseball players, football players, any athlete out there, track and field, swimmers, golfers, whatever, they're going to toe that line. So they're going to take whatever supplement that exists at GNC, and they're going to keep taking better supplements until they take where they can go right by that line over whether they can or whether they can't, because of what I mentioned before, competition. You want to do everything you can to give yourself an advantage over who and what your opponent is. Baseball has done a bad job because baseball is looking at itself like, I don't know, are they holier than thou over the other sports? The only sport that exists that has the equivalent of its all-time home run leader, single season home run leader, its all-time hits leader, 7 Cy Youngs. I know the batting average totals has been updated to include those in the Negro Leagues, but at least 3 or 4 players with the top 10 batting averages of all time are not in its Hall of Fame. And what is baseball getting out of it? People aren't looking at baseball and saying, wow, you know what, their Hall of Fame is pretty strict. I'm looking at them in a better light than the NFL or the NBA. In fact, baseball is losing its advantage as a pastime. I'm going to close it by saying this. Barry Bonds belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame. There wasn't a better player that I ever saw play that dominated its sport. And you could say, hey, it was the benefit of steroids. And I get it. I've talked to pitchers that have faced Barry Bonds, and their careers were a little shorter because of home runs they gave up to Barry Bonds while he was on steroids. And I understand that. But if you want to make this a thing about the use of PEDs, and that's the reason that Barry Bonds is in the Hall of Fame, Pete Rose epitomized what it was to play the game of baseball. His name was Charlie Hustle. Every kid that could have and may have watched Pete Rose play got an example of how you advance yourself and how you perform and have a 20-something year career by going out there and busting your ass. Pete Rose said, I will run into a fire wearing a gasoline suit to play baseball. He played like every game was going to be his last game. Yet, he's not part of the Baseball Hall of Fame either. So what is the Baseball Hall of Fame looking to accomplish? At some point, they got to do what's right. At some point, there's a time to start and put Barry Bonds and Pete Rose and Roger Clemens in the Baseball Hall of Fame like they deserve. God bless you, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.
Chris Bryant was on the Chicago Cubs roster opening day.
I have many leather-bound books. My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Why don't you give it all or a majority of it to the team that wins the friggin' World Series?
I was going to listen to that, but then I just carried on living my life.
Now they come out as the biggest Major League Baseball manager apologist
That'll only make someone work just hard enough not to get fired.
because hitters are going out there saying, I'm either going to hit a home run or I'm going to strike out. And if I don't get a pitch that I feel like I could drive out of the park,
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
especially prospect whores and hoarders, are going to be a little pissed off at me when I say this.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
There are only 2 managers in baseball's Hall of Fame who have losing records. One of them is the iconic Connie Mack, who you could say, in spite of winning 5 World Series championships as a manager, could be in as much as a pioneer. And what side of the spectrum they're on? Were they pitching? Were they batting? If your favorite team was pitching and a ball got inside and hit a batter, there's no way that could have been on purpose. But if you were a fan of the team that was batting and a ball got inside and hit somebody or went behind somebody's head, absolutely 100%, unequivocally, that pitcher was throwing at him. They put their tail between their legs, decided they're going to do exactly what they're told. You damn well right better give him a contract extension. You damn